Hello everyone. So this is going to be a bit more of a long form video. I'm actually going to end up posting this on YouTube. So hello everyone. I know there's probably not very many people that will view this, but I just wanted to jump on here and talk about a lot of the big struggles that I've had with beginning to trade. So I have been trying to learn trading for the last 3 to 6 months. I started with a little bit of knowledge from high school in some classes that I took and like business, and it just overall was a big learning experience for me then. I it piqued my interest. I made a little bit of money. I started my first account with like $200 in there, and then from then I grew it up to about 250 or $300 in a couple weeks. So the biggest difference that's happened now is actually scaling that up into like day trading, because then I was just doing like swing trading, so like week long investments, things like that. But currently I'm doing momentum trading, and it has been a big learning curve for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop on my Robinhood account and show you what it's currently at. So right here, this is my total investment value right here. And as you can see, I've had a lot of struggles on this account specifically. So whenever I first hopped on here, I was doing really, really well. I was up about 9% in my first week. So from May 17th until a little bit into June, so like 2 or 3 weeks, I got up about 9%. And I was really happy with this. I felt like I was actually understanding what was going on, and I was doing swing trading. So I was just doing like a little bit of long term here, a little bit of long term there, and just kind of enjoying. And then I started messing with the OTC markets, which OTC trading is a, if you look in here, it literally, you can trade on bankrupt stocks. So Pink Sheets, this is what Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street was selling. And there is always a massive fluctuation in these, and you never know what's truly going to happen. So for me, messing around in these as being a brand new trader trying to learn, it makes it understandable on how I lost this much money. So my first big mistake was I invested in a stock called Now, and it was on a big uprise. I didn't look into it, and it was like $130 a share. And I watched it drop from my 9% up all the way down to here. Almost 10% loss. No, almost 15% loss in a week, and I just stared at it. And so what I've learned is that I just continue to sit here and stare while I lose money. And then this big loss right here on the 26th was a $800 trade that I messed up on. And don't get me wrong, that day I had made a $125 trade first, and then a $225 profitable trade second. And I was really happy with myself. I was like, hey, I actually did really good today. I hit the trade. I did the right thing. I was doing great. And so I was like, okay, let's jump into another one since I'm doing so great. And that's where the greed comes in. Is you constantly think that, hey, it's a good day. I can continue to keep going. But instead of selling out whenever it was profitable, on that trade that lost me $800, I was up 300, which was like 20% of what I was putting in. And I sat there and just stared at it. Like, oh, it'll keep going, it'll keep going, it'll keep going. But then, out of nowhere, bang, negative 720. Giant candle, just negative $720 in 15 seconds. And I didn't know what to do. I panicked. So I just sat there and I watched. And it rose up to negative 200. And instead of selling out, I stayed. And then it, bang, another big candle, drops down to negative 859, give or take. And so I sat there for the rest of the day and tried to recover my losses. And I just continued to go down. Like, it, you can't recover your losses on the day that it happens, because you're always going to enter bad trades. You're going to try and do the wrong things. You're not going to follow the rules that you've clearly set. And at that point in my trading career, I still hadn't set any of these rules. So I was just sitting there buying, buying with no real plan. And so for the last month and a half, I have tried to learn an actual strategy that can make me a profitable trader. And not focused on this account at all. This one, literally, I just have NVIDIA and a dividend stock. That this is just long term now. I'm gonna try and recoup this. I mean, if as you can see in the last week, it's up 2%. So it's really just gonna be a long term thing. I'm not really too worried about it, but I like being able to see at least one thing in my account that's green. So now we'll go over to my Webull and we'll talk about what's been happening. So I spent about a month and a half, or no, I spent about a month, I'd say, learning momentum trading, and I'm still within that month. So as of the start of, I'd say June 20th, June 26th, after that big bad trade, I decided to learn a strategy. And so I started learning momentum trading. And for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I was sitting there and just like watching videos. And like Ross Cameron was a big person that I watched. And I looked into Momentum Trader and TJR and people like that just to try and get a good reference on what day trading truly is. And for me, I did a whole bunch. Like I felt really, really confident with where I was. And I finally, I have a whole trading journal right here that's full of notes on like half the pages you can see. So all of this is all momentum trading and things like that. And obviously, like I have my set of rules here, but it took me a while to establish that. And so I'd say about this week, well, last week, I started trading with actual money for the first time. And I was like, okay, so we're going to go ahead and actually mess around a little bit and jump into some trades. So I did good. I was really proud of myself. Like if I think I can scroll back through here and maybe find some profitable things. Um doo-doo-doo. Okay, so yeah, this is the VRAX trade. This was my big $140 trade that I got. So I made like $140, and this was I think 10%. Actually, I have this logged. Hold on. Let me pull that up. Sorry. So on this, I log all of my trades, everything I have ever done. And so over here on VRAX, this was my first trade doing momentum day trading. And I watched and I waited for the stock to get some news or get something to show that it was going to pop. And I was like, boom, there it is. It finally hit the point I wanted it to. At 9.5, I bought in. And this trade, I only spent 1,000 out of my portfolio, so like a fourth of it at the time. And I bought it, and I sold out finally at 1082 for a massive profit. I was so proud of myself. 13% on one trade. So happy with that. So then the next day, I jump in and I do this one, JZXN. And I bought 400 shares. So same share size, same everything, just kept it all constant. I didn't want to mess up. So I jump in, I get 16 cent, 6.4% on that one trade. I was really proud of this. Again, 6%. It's a great number. I mean, don't get me wrong. I obviously have very small share size, but that's okay to start with. I mean, I don't really want to mess with a prop firm because of the strategy I use, but it might be a good idea for me to try and do one because I'll have higher volume. I just don't think currently I could pass the test. So the next trade, GMM, there's no news, no nothing. It was just a quick pop and sell. And I bought in. I only spent about a quarter of a half of what I normally would. And I ended up making another 8%. And this all happened in 2 days. It was a Thursday and a Friday of last week. And so I was really proud of this. I was like, I did great. I truly felt confident in how I was trading. And I thought that going into this week, it would stay the same. But that's where I was wrong. So QTTB right here, I jump in and I felt this was a good trade. I jumped into it. I did way more than I should have. $2,000 on this one trade. That was such a bad idea. So I jump in. It really didn't destroy me too bad, but it still wasn't a very good trade. So I jump in, I watch it. It kind of falls. It doesn't break out. And that's one of the things I learned recently is breakout or bailout. Because if something doesn't want to break through, it won't. There's no point in sitting on it. There's no point in waiting. There's no point in anything. And I learned that lesson again on this trade right here, which I'll talk about in a second. But so I just sat and I waited. And obviously, like it rose back up a little bit, only made me negative 4%. And I'm not upset about that. Like, don't get me wrong, that wasn't that bad of a trade. But then we go into the second trade of the day, PLSM. This one hurt. It felt like an A plus setup. Everything looked amazing about it. It had the low float that I look for, the high volume that I look for. It had a news catalyst. It had literally everything going for it. So I buy in at $9 a share. It had a micro pullback. I bought in on it. I was so proud of this. I thought it was the perfect setup. So I put more in than I normally would. And that's what I did. And I watched. I watched and I watched and I watched and I watched until eventually I lost it. And I sold. Now at this time I was sitting in the Warrior Trading chat room just watching Ross, and he also jumped into this PLSM trade. He jumped in at about $9.20 a share, and he sold out at maybe $8.50. Maybe it was probably higher than that. Like he saw it wasn't going to break out, and so he sold. So he only lost. I think whenever I did the calculation, it was almost 300K that he had put into this trade, and he lost like 25,000. But if he would have done what I did in this trade, he would have lost almost $100,000 because of how long I held this for. And so that's one of those mistakes that I really need to figure out and learn from. And so the next day was NXTC. It was a good small volume trade. I made $28, 3%. Like that's a good trade. It may be a small value, but like I made it in 5 minutes, so that's $28 an hour. I mean, if I do that every 5 minutes for an hour, that's a really good hourly rate. I can't be upset with that. So then I do the same. I place another couple trades. None of them are really great. So now that gets to the point where I'm at today and yesterday. So all of the trades that I have done in the last couple days have been after missing something big. There have been 2 trades that I have watched go by me that were over 100% in a rising, an upwards move. Both of them had really good catalysts. Both of them looked like amazing buys. And yet for some reason I couldn't get myself to click the buy button. And that is the biggest part of trading that is in my opinion. Because if I can sit here and feel unconfident with everything that I am doing because I've messed up one trade, that sucks. Because this one right here, Sober, it moved today. And it was a massive move. And I was sitting here watching it at... I'd say I started watching it at about 9:20. 9:25 is when I first started watching it. And once it hit up to about 157, 160, I was like, oh, this is looking like it's going to be a great buy. It had a previous high in pre-market of about 190. And so if it broke through that 190 mark, it was going to fly. And I was like, this is actually a really good investment. And so I had my buy order set up. I had it for like 500 shares, I think it was. It should be a little, yeah. It should be a little over 1,000 there. So I had it set up. I was ready. I was sitting there watching it the whole time, just waiting. And finally it broke through that 190. And I just hovered over clicking. I didn't click. I didn't anything. I just sat there and just watched it fly by me, get halted, and then fly up higher. And I just had to sit there. And there was nothing I could do. And that really, really hurt. Because sitting here and knowing that you watched a good trade go by you without being able to click the button because your confidence is so shot, it sucks. Because I was willing to sit there on a trade that could have made me so much money because I didn't feel confident doing it. And that's where FOMO kicks in, the fear of missing out. Because after something like this happens, you tend to make the mistakes and buy the crappy trades. And so that's what I've learned recently, is that no matter how good you may feel about the strategy you're using, how confident you are in your setups, if you can't get through the mental aspect of the risk, you can't trade. And that's what I'm working on now, because I can sit here and I can post on TikTok or YouTube every day and be like, yeah, I mean, I did this analysis. I know that this one's going to rise pretty heavily and that it looks good for tomorrow. But yet, if I can't get myself to click that buy button, I will never be a profitable trader. And that's what sucks. So maybe I'm still too early in my journey to be consistently trading with thousands. Maybe I should just be sitting in a simulator for a month or two and trying to continue to learn, because learn from my mistakes. Whoever is watching this, whoever is here, there is no way that you will become profitable if you rush the process. Because as much as I want out of the 9 to 5 job that I have, it's what pays my bills. It's a good job. I work at a bank. I mean, I deal with money all day. I get to talk to the people that make the millions and do the things, and like I can get the expertise from them as well. So it's really not a bad job to have. But I want to do this. I want the freedom. My main goal here is to just get my parents out. They've been working the 9 to 5 life for 40 years now. Like 30, 40 years. And they've had multiple businesses and things like that. And I feel like they've worked so hard and deserve to be free. But if I rush that process and I continue to try so hard to get them out, instead of focusing on understanding what's going on, reading the market, getting my psychology correct, and overall just understanding entries and exits, I won't be profitable and I won't be able to do anything for them except cost them. Because if I can't make myself profitable and I can't pay like my college bills or my car payment or things like that, how am I supposed to help them? I mean, I live at my parents' house. I live here. So I'm literally living off of them with their groceries, their electrical bill, their Spectrum bill. Like everything that I have is because of them. And I'm doing nothing for them by sitting here losing money. So you have to understand that no matter how much you may want to make the money, it's not going to happen immediately. You have to believe it takes time. Sit in those simulators, trade with that 10 share amount on a $5 stock. Even if you're willing to lose $50 every day to understand what's going on in the market, it's so worth it, because you can lose that $10 every single trade. But if you're learning, oh, well, this was just a bad entry. Like maybe I'll play on a double top here and it's going to drop down, get stuck, and then it'll rise. But I don't know if that's actually going to happen until I practice and learn that. Because, like, yes, there's a double top, but then you can look over here and there's also like a head and shoulders or a double bottom. Like, you never know what can happen when it comes out. Like, obviously, this one came out of that pretty hard. Like, you got your neckline, you got your head, and then it bang, it rises. That's an inverse head and shoulders. So, there's so many things that you can do, but you never know. I need to understand that I need to take a step back and take more time to learn. I'm 3 months into my journey. It takes many traders years to become profitable. And yet, I've already made the profitable trades. I already understand how to do it. I just need to relax and believe that it will come. If you are willing to be obsessed and put in the effort on something, it will happen. That's the same way it goes with sports. Most of these sports players, like Mbappe, he recently just got knocked out of the World Cup, but he was absolutely obsessed to get to where he was. Same with Lamine Yamal. He spent so many years of his life. He's only 19 and he's in the World Cup final. He spent so many years of his life obsessing with soccer and that he would make it to the stage that he is at today. You have to love it. You have to be obsessed to get to where you want to be. And trading and actually being staring at the market is not the only thing you need to understand. There is a massive psychology behind this. I'd say I agree with what a lot of people have said, that it is 50% psychology and 50% skill, because the mental state that it takes to do this, to sit here and stare at $1,000 loss and wait for it to rise, I'm not at that point yet. It hurts me to watch $50 go by because I don't have the money. And you can't think like that. You have to be entirely emotionless when sitting at this chair because you have to understand that, yeah, you're gonna lose money. It's gonna happen on a day in, day out basis. I watched one of my favorite traders, Ross Cameron, lose $26,000 on a live stream and then proceed to still come back and get positive that day. That is so impressive to me. And to think that maybe one day I can get to that point as well without having to constantly worry that I'm going to get in my head, I want to be there. And so, my lesson to you guys is do not give up. Believe that it takes time. Understand that no matter how hard you try, it's not always going to happen. So, just keep pushing through and watch and wait because you can get there in the end as long as you keep trying. But that is all I have for you guys. I don't know if I'm going to post very many more videos, but as you can see, this looks like it's starting to form. I'm not going to touch the market except for probably a sim today because I've already had a couple losses. So any post on TikTok or YouTube are probably going to end up being sims or market analysis of me watching patterns and just trying to learn. So have a good day, everyone. I hope it all goes well for you. And that's all I have.